Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob here from Ram Studio Comics. So in today's video, we're going to be drawing some legs and hopefully enjoy this. I do want to let you know that I've got a link in the description box below to my Skillshare. Skillshare is allowing me to teach a lot of cool classes on comic art and design, and I've got a lot of stuff in the works, some of which is what you're looking at here. This is actually more kind of the practice preliminary work that I do to teach the anatomy later. So I've already got a class up on an arm anatomy. I hope you'll check that out. Without further ado, let's jump into today's activity. All right, so let's draw some legs. Now, the thing I want to talk about today is really male versus female, some of the things that you can hope to look for and worry about or focus upon as you do these studies. So with the male legs, generally, for the most part, and keep in mind this is dynamic stylized anatomy, it's generally going to be a bit more angular, not entirely angular. You can see there's some real curves going on here for the musculature, but you're going to pay attention to spotting the bony landmarks more. So you're going to definitely use some angles for that. You still want to pay attention to the angles of the anatomy, like you see the line there where the vastus medialis is lower than the lateralis, but that's going to be across the board. That's male and female, but it's more noticeable on somebody that works out more defined characters. Also, you're generally going to have more defined shadows on the male character. Now, this isn't always the case, but since you're worried or trying to get this effect of like, the really bulky muscles, if you're going for that type of character, or somebody that's very lean, you're going to show more of those shadows to define that. And then for the female legs, you're going to use a lot more curves, S-curves, sweeping lines, flowing lines, things like that. You really want to try to throw the lines more instead of a lot of stop and go, which is typically going to give you more angles and more abrupt landmarks on the forms there. So yeah, you're really going to try to flow those lines and kind of sweep into the next form. Also with female legs, and again, this isn't always, but generally, they're going to look more sleek and slender, a little bit less definition on the bony landmarks. And then also, you're going to use a little bit less line work on the interior of the legs. So you want a few lines so that you can show definition, obviously, and change in forms. But then you don't want to go too crazy with that, because what tends to happen is you get a very segmented look. Think about it like lines on the face, right? So you get this cool face, but then you start incorporating more and more lines on the interior of the face. Well, if the character isn't aged or kind of a gritty, eerie vibe that you're going for, whatever, you kind of subtract beauty. You kind of take away from that. So same thing with legs and arms for women. You got to be real careful, unless of course you're drawing like She-Hulk or something like that, then it makes a little bit more sense. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about in this video real quick is the fact that some of this is from studying reference, some of it's from studying other art forms. I absolutely love studying the legs from Bern Hogarth. I've done videos on that in the past. But what I wanted to point out here is that I actually would draw one leg and then imagine the other leg. Okay, so this is also a good technique because legs are just, there's a lot of variety of poses. They're very complex. But if you kind of challenge yourself to imagine what's not there based upon what you're studying from what is there, it really helps you to commit more of it to memory, and it makes you more versatile so that you can come up with your own poses when you don't find the right reference. And I always talk about that because I've spent countless hours scouring the internet for poses, and it's so much better when you can train yourself to imagine what should be there. And it's not fully imagining it because, again, you've studied some reference, you've looked at maybe one of the legs. Now, I'll admit the one that I'm doing now, and that's actually exactly the way, or minus me interpreting it with style, that's the way the pose was. But the other ones, there was just one leg, and then I shifted the other leg. So it's fun. It's tricky, but it's worth the effort. And then here I'm like imagining the feet, I guess, and they're always a pain. Feet are just tough, but again, don't avoid the things that are tough for you. Go head first into them because you'll learn the most from them. They're going to be the most frustrating, but once you kind of figure it out, it's so worth it. Now, this last one is purely from imagination, and you can probably tell it's a bit of a weird pose, and I don't know that a leg really looks like that, but from what I've studied and then from going from imagination, that tends to happen. but I'm okay with that. I like dynamic anatomy. I like to envision things and try to make it work. It's basically like you're training yourself to pay attention to the pieces of the puzzle from life, but then you put that away and you go from imagination and you try to remember those pieces and then construct them in different poses. So it takes a lot of practice, but it's fun. It's great when you finally start to figure it out. So at any rate, I hope you liked this video. I'd love to see your work. If you want to share that on your favorite social media and tag me in the post. More content on the way very soon. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.